So Milestone's Screamer series is getting a 2026 reboot. But if you're not already in the know, you're probably wondering what old games Screamer 2026 is pulling from. The original Screamer trilogy is a fantastic run of arcade races that literally made Milestone and put them on the map. From the Ridge Racer-like first entry to the SEGA Rally-inspired sequels, what you'll find here is a look at each release in the original Milestone Screamer trilogy, interspersed with some hints, tips, tricks and cheats for each game. You can find Screamer and Screamer 2 on GOG and Steam these days, but Screamer Rally is not available anywhere, so you'll have to go Abandonware hunting. He's hoping that GOG and Milestone team up and add all of these games to the GOG preservation program. If you're tired of realism in your racing games and yearn for those happy arcade racing vibes that provide that true escapism you're looking for, then join the ARC community here by subscribing, liking and sharing. And if you want to see more of these videos more often, consider becoming an ARC supporter. I'm on a mission here to help you discover the older arcade races you may not have experienced before, and to support the new wave of arcade races out there. But enough of that, let's get on with it. The original Screamer was a trailblazing MS-DOS CD-ROM arcade racer that aimed to bring the blue skies coin-op racing vibes home. Released in 1995 by Italian developer Graffiti, who would go on to become Milestone, Screamer was an immediate hit. Inspired by Ridge Racer, Daytona USA and Virtua Racing, nothing on the PC came close, and it still looks gorgeous in that retro way even today. Fully 3D modelled cars and tracks impress with awesome texture work. Frame rates are sky high for the era, and the colours look ripped straight from your local arcade cabinet. Screamer is a true marvel. The soundtrack is pretty killer and takes full advantage of the CD format. Graffiti enlisted Alistair Brimble for all of the music tracks, and his work punctuates every race with some fantastic 90s video game rock.
For the next man, pole position, checkpoint.
Screamer contains 6 cars, each with an auto and manual variant. Each model has unique top speed, grip and acceleration stats, with the manual versions featuring alternate liveries and a higher top speed naturally. These stats have a big impact on handling. Whilst all the cars can drift, it is much harder to drift in cars with high grip stats, and you'll be relying on more traditional braking and throttle control. Personally, I go for the cars with low grip, since drifting comes easier, and drifting in Screamer works a little differently here than in most other games. You won't find a reliable brake to drift method here, and instead you'll find it all in managing your throttle. The brake is brutally strong. Lift off and stamp it and you'll go careening. The vast majority of corners can be made successfully with basic throttle management. Harder corners require you to slow down well before and hold the brake while also managing the accelerator. Otherwise, this happens. It takes a while to wrap your head around it all, and even after all these years, I'm pretty sure I still don't have it fully down pat. But learning each course will have you navigating them successfully before too long. The 6 courses in the game are truly phenomenal, instantly memorable, gorgeous to look at and satisfying to play. The tracks in Screamer are super fun and infinitely replayable. They also take a few cues from Ridge Racer, with sections that contain context-sensitive controls. On some banking corners, you'll not be able to drift no matter how hard you try. On others, you'll need to navigate certain sections using Screamer's bizarre fishtailing mechanics. As far as I'm concerned, Screamer nailed the tracks straight off the bat. For an arcade game, there's some decent modes of play on offer here. Arcade mode is a classic single race. Championship mode offers up novice, immediate and pro runs through all courses in succession, and they do get more challenging as things progress. Time trial mode is a bit of a disappointment since you're only able to race a single lap. The Cone Carnage and Slalom events add very little to the game since they also adhere to the one-lap formula. There's also a network play option for LAN and online sessions, but I haven't tried this mode out myself and I'm sure it will take some tweaking to get this up and running these days. Screamer has an issue that makes it impossible to progress if you're playing via the higher resolution SVGA mode, which the GOG release defaults to. Any race in SVGA mode on the Sandrock track concludes with a hard crash that terminates the game. This doesn't happen at all in the lower resolution VGA mode. You could keep quitting, switching to VGA for Sandrock and then switching back, or just do the smart thing. What I've done here is I delete the SVGA version of the map, keep the VGA version, but rename it to match the SVGA version's file name. This fixes the crash entirely by utilizing the simpler VGA version of the track, and you can repeat this method with any other track you're having issues with. My only real gripe with Screamer has to do with the bonkers collision detection. Any scrape with a car is basically a lottery. Will the other car go flying, or will it perhaps be you? Usually you'll be fine, and it's quite easy to catch back up and retain your place should you lose it. But get used to the occasional pinball around the track is all I'm saying. Overall, Screamer is phenomenal. Grab it on GOG or Steam, follow the controller support guides I've linked in the description and give it a bash. If you take the time to acclimate to the controls, you're sure to find yourself hooked on one of the best arcade races of the era. If you're interested, here's some cheats that will work with every version of the game out there.
Next corner's tricky.
The original Screamer may have gone for Ridge Racer, but 1996's Screamer 2, the first game released under the Milestone name, set its eyes on something else entirely: SEGA Rally. Hailed as one of the best arcade races of all time, it's easy to forget that SEGA Rally Championship was gunning for realism at the time. Everybody saw it as a step towards sim racing, yet it still had that glorious gamey edge. Milestone saw Screamer 2 as an opportunity to push in a more simulation direction. Kind of funny to think about today, but there you go. What it keeps from the first game is exactly why it still feels like Screamer, even with the new direction. The teams from the first game return, and along with them, all the same modes of play return too, with the exception of the novelty Cone Carnage and Slalom modes, and that's no great loss. This time around, the 8 cars, 4 available from the start and 4 unlockable, do not have stats per se. You'll find each car has its top speed listed, as well as whether it's a 4-wheel drive, front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. In Championship and Time Trial modes, you can customize your steering speed, brakes, tyre types, tyre pressure, and your front and rear suspension. These have a huge impact on your ability to race well on a track. If you don't touch these settings, expect to slide out, get bogged in sand, have a hard time with snow, etc. This is all fantastic in theory, but unfortunately, there seems to be a particular configuration perfect for each track, and anything less can result in some pretty subpar handling. It can be frustrating figuring out just which tuning combination is the one needed for each track. Through some trial and error, you'll find settings that work for you. I've done some snooping, however, and if you're just after the perfect combo for every track, then I'll throw them in with the cheats at the end of the Screamer 2 section here. Overall though, the basic control in Screamer 2 is top notch. Anybody familiar with the original SEGA Rally Championship will almost immediately feel at home here. The gameplay mechanics are nigh on identical in spirit, with dramatic power slides, even more road surfaces to race on, similarly real-world inspired courses, and bright, colourful graphics that take a decent stab at whatever realism they could muster back in 1996. Drifting is super satisfying, and throttle and brake control feel pitch perfect. All is not roses, however. The pinball collision physics of the first game are back with a vengeance. Hilarious at first, collisions with other cars can become infuriating in later leagues of the championship mode. I've lost count of how many times an AI driver has rammed into the back of my car, spun me out and sent me straight into a wall. The physics are impressive for the time, but maddening when you're in the thick of it. When it comes down to it, Screamer 2 isn't as polished as its inspiration, but the flaws can be overlooked because their ambition on display is just so damned admirable. Graphics are a nice step up from the first game. You've been seeing it run in 3D effects mode here. I've tried everything I could to get software mode running smoothly, but to no success. Here's what it looks like, and I actually prefer the software mode in some respects. The polygon seams are quite visible in 3D effects mode, something that the lower res software mode hides much better. If I had more luck with the software mode, I would likely choose to play that way. I think I've got to keep on tweaking. Each of the 7 courses is gorgeous with varied scenery and awesome texture work. They're impeccably thought out too, and each track has serious flow, with some even featuring forks in the road to spice things up a bit. As for the cars, they also take cues from real life makes and have that 90s low poly charm that's hard to beat. The music this time around is much more electronica based. This is the same kind of 90s sample CD techno, big beat and drum and bass you'll find in countless other races of the era, and I'm totally here for it. It's banging stuff and gets your pulse racing. Screamer 2 is a great game, with a few flaws that can easily be overcome with some persistence. So good was it that Milestone would stick to the formula in the next game. Enjoy these cheats, tips and tricks, and should you need them, I've left links for a setup guide for the game in the description below. Screamer Rally released in 1997 and plays it pretty safe. It's more of the same, quite literally. We have a follow-up using the same engine, with the same graphics and the same structure. In most regards, it feels like an expansion pack. You get another 7 courses, but only 5 cars. And in Screamer Rally, the available cars are either 4-wheel drive or front-wheel drive focused. The rear-wheel drive cars have been dropped. Teams have been excised from Screamer Rally also, which is a shame and I miss them here. Course design is mostly on par with Screamer 2. The vast majority feature the same kind of killer flow, and visually they're just as striking. I particularly love the Welsh track, and the branching path found here is a nice touch. Gameplay is also very much identical, with the same SEGA Rally style of handling, so jumping into Screamer Rally from Screamer 2 is quite easy. A couple of noticeable differences I've found are that the pinball collision physics seem to have been toned down a little. It's still not perfect, but it's a nice improvement. There also seems to be a greater sense of speed in Screamer Rally. It takes about a second flat to adjust to, and I dig it. Screamer Rally features the exact same tuning options found in Screamer 2, so more trial and error will be required to find the perfect configuration for each track. Perfect setups for Rally are harder to find than they were for Screamer 2, but the rule of thumb is simple. China, Italy, Canada and Arizona are sandy, run with low tyre pressure. Sweden, Wales and Stadium stick with 4-wheel drive cars. The music really stands out in Screamer Rally. Needless to say, if you love your 90s racing electronica, you won't find yourself disappointed by the selection of tunes here in Screamer Rally. All up, while Screamer Rally is essentially just more Screamer 2, that's not a bad thing. Screamer 2 was so good that another installment in this rally part of the series is very much welcome. Here's some cheats for the game. I'm only going to touch very briefly on Screamer 4x4. It is a super radical change in direction for a racer bearing the Screamer name. Developed by a completely different studio, the Hungarian team Clever's Games, it is much more focused on realism, and the sim aspects put it out of the scope of things I usually cover here at ARC. I'll be honest, I'm sure it's a great game, but I personally don't have the patience to sit through the more mundane aspects of the game. My eyes glaze over when I see screens like this. Your mileage may vary, and it's available on GOG if you want to try it out for yourself. It's definitely not a true blue Screamer game though. Screamer 2026 looks like one of Milestone's most ambitious and heartfelt projects to date. On the surface, it looks to bear little resemblance to the previous Screamer games, but having revisited every main game in the series in this video, it should be abundantly clear that reinvention is an inherent part of Screamer's DNA. I'm hoping the fun, well-natured and creative spirit of the previous games makes a return here, and going on everything we've seen so far, it looks like that's exactly what we're going to get. Fingers crossed. This video is possible in part thanks to my amazing ARC supporters. A special shout out to ARC super supporter No More Mercy. All of you are absolute legends, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And a big thank you goes out to you for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.